Welcome to our deep dive into Area 51, the world's most secretive and mysterious military base. For decades, it's been the center of stories about alien technology, government cover-ups, and unexplained phenomena. But what's really happening behind those locked gates? In this series, we'll uncover the truth step by step, from secret programs and whistleblowers to the latest official disclosures. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, get ready to have your mind opened. If you love mysteries and the unknown, let's get started. They say the desert hides more than sand. Hidden deep in the Nevada desert, far beyond the fence lines, lies a place wrapped in shadows. A place that doesn't officially exist. Yet, it's one of the most talked about locations in American history. Area 51. For decades, it's been the epicenter of conspiracy theories, military secrecy, and questions no one dares to answer. What happens beyond those barbed wire fences? What are they hiding? Is it alien technology, black budget experiments, or something else entirely? You're not alone in wondering. From Cold War presidents like Truman and Eisenhower, to whistleblowers, curious scientists, and night sky watchers, people have been asking the same questions for over half a century. This podcast isn't about wild speculation. It's about peeling back the layers. What's fact? What's fiction? And what's hidden somewhere in between? We'll follow the timeline. We'll dive into declassified documents. We'll hear stories from insiders, some credible, some controversial. And we'll ask, why is Area 51 still one of the most protected and secretive military installations in the world? Across 10 episodes, we'll explore everything from the origins of the base to the wild theories it inspires. From high-altitude spy planes to rumored alien autopsies. From government denials to leaked confessions. This is not just history. This is a journey into the unknown. Are you ready? Because the deeper we go, the harder it becomes to separate myth from reality. Episode 1. The Birth of a Secret Base. How World War II and the Cold War gave birth to Area 51. Not everything starts with aliens. Before there were rumors of flying saucers and alien autopsies, Area 51 was something else entirely. It began as a solution to a very human problem: war, and the need to stay ahead of every enemy, visible or invisible. Let's rewind to the 1940s. World War II had just ended. America had won, but at a cost. Cities lay in ruins across Europe and Asia. Nuclear weapons had changed the rules of warfare forever. The United States found itself at the top, but not alone. A new kind of war was brewing. The rise of the Cold War. In 1947, President Harry Truman signed the National Security Act, creating the CIA, the National Security Council, and, indirectly, the infrastructure for what would become the Cold War military machine. That same year, something else happened: the Roswell incident. An object, still debated to this day, crashed in New Mexico. The U.S. military first said it was a flying disc, then retracted the statement. Was it a weather balloon or something else? Whatever it was, it added fuel to a growing fire, the belief that the U.S. government was hiding something big. At the same time, Soviet Russia was quickly becoming a threat. America needed to spy on them, track their nuclear capabilities, and do it without being seen. That meant aircraft, new ones, fast ones, high-flying ones that radar couldn't touch. And to build them, they needed somewhere no one could see. Finding the perfect nowhere. In 1955, a dry lakebed in Nevada, Groom Lake, was chosen by the CIA and Lockheed Skunk Works division as the perfect testing ground for their top-secret aircraft. Why? It was remote, flat, hidden in a natural bowl of mountains, no towns, no roads, no eyes. That same year, a small group of engineers and military personnel arrived. They didn't talk to reporters. They didn't ask questions. They just built. And so, Area 51 was born. At first, it didn't even have a name. Later, it would appear on official maps as Groom Lake, Paradise Ranch, or simply the test site. But within the U.S. government's own grid system for Nevada's atomic testing range, it fell into Area 51, and the name stuck. The birth of the U-2 program. Area 51's first mission was to test the U-2 reconnaissance plane, a jet that could fly at 70,000 feet, far higher than any other aircraft at the time. Soviet radar couldn't detect it, and even if they could, they had no way to reach it. The U-2's purpose was simple, to spy on the Soviets without them knowing. Its impact, massive. But there was one unintended side effect: sightings. Civilians began reporting strange objects in the sky. Fast, silver, high-altitude crafts that didn't look like anything they'd ever seen. The government told them they were weather balloons or natural phenomena. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the truth either. A culture of secrecy. From the start, Area 51 wasn't just about aircraft. It was about control, silence, obedience. Employees were flown in on unmarked planes from Las Vegas. They were sworn to secrecy. Many couldn't tell their own families where they worked. There were no phones, no outside communication. Everything was compartmentalized, need to know only. President Eisenhower's involvement. President Dwight D. Eisenhower, a former general and no stranger to military secrecy, personally approved black-budget operations at Groom Lake. He understood the stakes. The Soviets were testing nukes and building missiles. America had to stay ahead. So the funding flowed, quietly. And Area 51 grew. By the end of the 1950s, what started as a dry lakebed had become a hub of innovation, one the world wasn't allowed to know existed. But those who did know understood its importance. They weren't just testing planes, they were rewriting the rules of warfare, and they were only getting started. Episode 2. The Black Projects begin. Inside the secret world of skunk works and the rise of the SR-71 area. 51 was no longer just a secret test site. It had become something else, something darker. In the early 1960s, while the public was busy watching the space race, another race was happening in the shadows. A race not to reach the stars, but to disappear from sight entirely. Welcome to the age of black projects. Skunk Works, America's invisible engineers. Lockheed Martin's legendary Skunk Works division became the unofficial tenant of Area 51, led by Clarence Kelly Johnson, a man often called a genius, sometimes a madman. They weren't building ordinary planes. They were building ghosts, aircraft that didn't show up on radar, that flew higher and faster than anything the world had seen. That could take photographs from 80,000 feet and be gone before anyone knew they were there. After the U-2, Johnson's team began designing something even more ambitious. Project Oxcart. Project Oxcart and the birth of the A-12. Imagine a jet so fast it could outrun a missile. That was the A-12, a sleek black titanium aircraft that flew over 3 times the speed of sound. It was the prototype for what would later become the SR-71 Blackbird, the most iconic spy plane in history. It was shaped like an arrow, coated in radar-absorbing paint, powered by engines that roared like thunder and left shock diamonds in the sky. And it was born at Area 51. Everything about the A-12 program was classified. Engineers used fake names. Test flights were only conducted at night. When the jet crashed, and a few did, cover stories were instantly prepared. Conventional military aircraft, or weather research flights. In truth, America was building a machine no enemy could stop. Why the secrecy? The Soviets had begun deploying surface-to-air missiles capable of hitting high-altitude targets. After Francis Gary Powers was shot down in his U-2 in 1960, the CIA knew they needed something more evasive. Stealth became the new priority. But stealth didn't just mean shape, it meant silence. Silence from the public, silence even within the military. Area 51 became the epicenter of this new philosophy. If no one knows what you're building, no one can stop it. Real people, real pressure. Imagine working 18-hour days in 120-degree heat, on a project you can't talk about, for a mission you'll never get credit for. That was life at Area 51. Test pilots like Bill Park and Ken Collins risked their lives flying experimental jets with no guarantee of rescue if something went wrong. Engineers lived in trailers, surrounded by fences, watched by armed guards. Their families were told nothing. Some broke down. Some never came back. But the mission came first. The arrival of the SR-71. By the mid-1960s, the A-12 gave way to its more famous descendant, the SR-71 Blackbird. Able to fly at Mach 3.3 and reach 85,000 feet, it could cross continents in under 2 hours. No SR-71 was ever shot down, despite flying directly over enemy territory for decades. And it all started at Groom Lake. The Blackbird wasn't just a marvel of engineering. It was a symbol of what Area 51 had become, a forge for impossible ideas, a place where physics was pushed to its limit, and the sky was no longer the limit. The shadows grow longer. As the SR-71 entered operational service, Area 51 continued to evolve. New hangars were built, runways were extended, security was tightened, and with each project, the myth surrounding the base deepened. People in nearby towns began reporting strange booms, odd lights, and unidentified flying objects moving at impossible speeds. The government didn't confirm, it didn't deny, it simply didn't speak, and the silence spoke volumes. Episode 3: UFOs, Aliens, and the Roswell Effect. How public imagination and government silence created a modern myth. By the 1970s, something strange had happened. Area 51 was still one of the most secret places in the world, but outside its fences, the public imagination was spiraling into something extraordinary, fueled by lights in the sky, grainy photos, and unanswered questions. And it all traces back to a small desert town in New Mexico. Roswell, 1947, the spark that lit the fire. July 1947. Roswell Army Airfield releases a press statement. They have recovered a flying disc from a ranch northwest of town. Within 24 hours, that story changes. Now, it's a weather balloon. But the damage is done. The headlines reach every corner of America. And for the first time, the average citizen begins to wonder, are we alone? What crashed outside Roswell that day? Was it truly just a balloon, or something the military couldn't explain, or didn't want to? In later years, the Air Force would claim it was part of Project Mogul, a classified operation to detect Soviet nuclear tests. But to many, that explanation came far too late, and far too conveniently. The government's wall of silence. As sightings increased across the country, so did denials. People reported bright lights hovering over highways. Farmers claimed to find strange debris. Pilots saw objects that moved with unnatural precision. And each time, the government said, "There's nothing to see." But they didn't explain what was actually seen. The secrecy surrounding places like Area 51 didn't help. It created a vacuum. And into that vacuum rushed every imaginable theory, from secret aircraft to interstellar visitors. Bob Lazar and the explosion of the alien narrative. In 1989, a man named Bob Lazar appeared on Las Vegas television. His claim? He worked at a facility called S4 near Area 51. He had seen alien spacecraft. He had worked to reverse engineer their propulsion systems. Lazar spoke in technical terms: element 115, gravitational amplification, antimatter reactors. He wasn't just telling a story. He was laying out a blueprint. skeptics tore his claims apart. There were inconsistencies, missing records, unexplained credentials. But to many, Lazar wasn't just credible. He was brave. And he said what millions already suspected. The government wasn't just hiding secrets from enemies. They were hiding them from us. The rise of pop culture obsession. Hollywood took notice. From Close Encounters of the Third Kind to E.T., from the X-Files to Independence Day, the idea of a hidden government facility studying aliens captured America's imagination. And Area 51 became its symbol. People began traveling to the Nevada desert, hoping for a glimpse. UFO tourism was born. Road signs were stolen. Books were written. Documentaries aired. Late-night radio shows like Coast to Coast AM turned into cultural phenomena. It was no longer just a military base. It was a legend. But why now? Why did this happen in the 80s and 90s? Why not sooner? The answer is timing. By then, Cold War secrecy had peaked. The SR-71 and U-2 programs had been declassified, but only partially. People knew something had happened in Nevada, but not what. And in the absence of facts, fantasy filled the gap. More importantly, distrust in government was growing. After Watergate, Iran-Contra, and years of classified wars, the public no longer believed the official story. They wanted the truth, and many believed it was buried in the desert. What did the government do? Nothing. They didn't confirm Bob Lazar's story. They didn't arrest him. They didn't acknowledge Area 51, not officially, not until decades later. And that silence, it became the loudest message of all. Episode 4. Secrets in the Sky, experimental technology that fueled the alien hysteria. By the 1990s, Area 51 had become synonymous with aliens. But the real truth, buried under layers of classification, was even stranger. Yes, strange aircraft were seen in the sky. Yes, they moved in ways people couldn't explain. But what if those crafts weren't alien at all? What if they were ours? The F-117 Nighthawk, born in the shadows. It looked like a spaceship. Angular, jet black, radar-deflecting skin. Sharp lines that made it nearly invisible to enemy radar. The F-117 Nighthawk wasn't just stealthy. It was the first aircraft designed to be. And where was it tested? Area 51. It first flew in 1981, but wasn't revealed to the public until 1988. For 7 years, civilians spotted it in the Nevada sky, describing it as a black triangle or an alien craft. They weren't wrong. It didn't look like anything from Earth. But it was built by Lockheed Martin. Using math so advanced, the design came not from aerodynamic principles, but radar scattering equations. In other words, it looked alien because it had to. Aurora, the ghost that might exist. One of the most persistent rumors from the late 1980s and early 1990s involved a craft called Aurora. High speed, hypersonic, pulse detonation engines, capable of traveling Mach 5 or more. No photos, no documents, no admissions. But residents near Area 51 and Edwards Air Force Base reported skyquakes, sonic booms that didn't match known aircraft. Some even claimed to see diamond-shaped contrails or hear rhythmic rumbling, unlike any conventional jet. To this day, the U.S. government denies Aurora ever existed, but black budget programs are, by definition, deniable. TR-3B, tech or theory. Another name that surfaced in the 1990s, the TR-3B. Supposedly a large, triangular anti-gravity craft developed with exotic propulsion. Witnesses described it floating silently, sometimes hovering, sometimes accelerating with no visible thrust. The problem? There's no evidence, no patents, no whistleblowers, no documents, only sightings and theories. But many believers argue that's exactly how a perfect black project would look. Some point to advanced propulsion experiments, such as NASA's EM drive or DARPA's research into inertial dampening. Others suggest reverse-engineered alien tech. Whatever the truth, the belief persists. Radar games and optical illusions. Part of the confusion came from deliberate manipulation. To test stealth aircraft, the military would often simulate enemy radar to see how invisible their craft really were. That meant flying at odd angles, flashing strange lights, or testing radar reflective coatings. In some cases, dummy aircraft were flown alongside real ones to confuse observers. And it worked. Civilian pilots flying over Nevada reported zigzagging lights, or crafts that split into two. These weren't alien vehicles, they were military exercises designed to scramble sensors, confuse radar, and protect national secrets. The role of psychological misdirection. This part gets murky. Some former intelligence officials claim the government didn't mind if people thought Area 51 was hiding aliens. It was a form of cover. Better to have the public chasing flying saucers than asking questions about real black ops aircraft or weapons testing. Was this disinformation? Maybe. Or maybe it was something more strategic, a useful myth, alien ships or earthly secrets. The line between alien and advanced tech has always been thin. When you see a black triangle hovering silently in the night sky, it doesn't matter whether it's from Alpha Centauri or Lockheed Martin. It defies your expectations. It fuels imagination. And for decades, that was the unspoken truth about Area 51. The most convincing alien ships might have been ours all along. Episode 5. Nuclear Secrets and the Shadow of the Cold War. The atomic heart of Area 51. While the public was busy scanning the skies for flying saucers, the real danger at Area 51 was growing underground. Nuclear technology, radiation testing, and Cold War paranoia that knew no limits. Because the truth is, Area 51 was never just about aircraft. It was about what those aircraft might carry. The Nevada test site, a neighbor with a dark past. Just 25 miles northwest of Area 51 lies the Nevada test site, ground zero for over 900 nuclear detonations. Between 1951 and 1992, the U.S. government tested atomic bombs above and below ground. The mushroom clouds could be seen from Las Vegas. Shockwaves rattled windows hundreds of miles away. Area 51 wasn't just nearby, it was linked. Supplies, scientists, and secrets flowed between the two locations. Some even speculate underground tunnels connect them. And what were they testing? Delivery systems. In other words, how do you get a nuclear warhead from a base in Nevada to a target 6,000 miles away without being seen? Project Pluto. The flying reactor. One of the most terrifying experiments of the era was Project Pluto, a nuclear-powered cruise missile. Not nuclear-armed, nuclear-powered. It would fly just above ground level at Mach 3, spewing radioactive exhaust as it went, literally scorching the Earth below. And the payload? Multiple warheads. It was tested under the Nevada desert near Groom Lake. Underground tunnels were used to test airflow, shielding, and reactor cooling systems. The project was eventually canceled. Not because it didn't work, because it worked too well. It was considered too dangerous, even by Cold War standards. But some say pieces of that technology never disappeared. They just went deeper underground. The Soviet eyes in the sky. The Cold War wasn't just about building weapons. It was about hiding them. As the U.S. developed stealth technology at Area 51, the Soviets tried to keep up through satellite surveillance. Spy satellites flew over Groom Lake, mapping every change in terrain, every new hangar, every suspicious vehicle. To counter this, the U.S. built movable structures and decoy installations. Some engineers were tasked solely with creating false targets. camouflaged buildings, heat signatures, even dummy aircraft. It was a cat-and-mouse game played from space. Radiation and the price of secrecy. The secrecy didn't just shield national security, it also endangered lives. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, workers at Area 51 began developing strange illnesses. Cancer, lung damage, skin lesions. Many suspected exposure to toxic chemicals and radioactive materials used in weapons development or disposal. But because the base didn't officially exist, these workers had no legal protections. In 1994, a lawsuit was filed against the U.S. government. Plaintiffs claimed they had been exposed to unmarked, unregulated chemical burns while working at Groom Lake. The government's response? They didn't deny the injuries. They denied the location. Eventually, President Bill Clinton signed an executive order exempting certain activities at Groom Lake from environmental disclosure. Translation: you're not allowed to ask. The last days of detonation. By the early 1990s, under mounting pressure, live nuclear tests ceased, but the research didn't. Simulation labs were built. Supercomputers began modeling nuclear explosions digitally. Miniaturized tests, called subcritical experiments, continued in underground bunkers, and much of it stayed connected to Area 51. Why? Because as weapons became more advanced, so did the delivery systems. You didn't just need a bomb. You needed to know how to deploy it without being seen, intercepted, or traced. That's what Groom Lake specialized in. The fallout. We can't see the Cold War left more than radioactive dust in the desert. It left scars on the environment, on the people who worked there, and on a culture of secrecy that still shapes how we see our government today. Some secrets were necessary, others were deadly, and Area 51 sat at the center of both. Episode 6: Whistleblowers, Conspiracies, and Leaked Documents. The people who spoke out, and the price they paid. Some secrets are meant to stay buried. Others come clawing out from the shadows, dragged by men and women who couldn't stay silent. In this episode, we dive into the whistleblowers, leaked files, and conspiracy theories that refuse to die. Because where there's smoke in the desert, there's usually fire. And Area 51 has produced more smoke than almost any place on Earth. Bob Lazar, the man who lit the fuse. We've mentioned him before, but it's time to go deeper. In 1989, Bob Lazar claimed he worked at a facility called S4, just south of Area 51. He described 9 alien spacecraft, a reactor powered by Element 115 gravity manipulation systems, a propulsion technology not of this Earth. He passed a polygraph. He knew details about the base's layout that weren't public, and yet, his education records vanished. His employment history evaporated. Coincidence? Or deliberate erasure? To believers, Lazar is a truth teller. To skeptics, he's a fabricator. But either way, he changed the narrative. After Lazar, Area 51 was no longer just a military base. It was the center of the alien cover-up. John Lear, the pilot who saw too much. A former CIA pilot, son of the Learjet inventor, John Lear went public with explosive claims in the late 80s. The U.S. had contact with multiple alien species. Some were working underground at Groom Lake. Abductions were real, and sometimes government-sanctioned. Majestic 12, MJ-12, was the secret group managing it all. His statements were wild, outlandish, but his credentials gave them weight. Lear didn't care about ridicule. He said, "The truth has to come out, even if people think I'm crazy." And thousands listened. The Majestic 12 documents, hoax, or hidden history. In 1984, an anonymous envelope was mailed to a UFO researcher. Inside, the MJ-12 papers. These top-secret documents described a presidential committee formed by Harry Truman in 1947 to manage alien technology and contact. The names were real, the format looked authentic, and yet the government denied everything. Some experts say the papers were clever forgeries. Others point to micro-anomalies in the typewriting and formatting, details that would have been hard to fake pre-internet. Whether fake or real, they amplified belief in a deep hidden government, a state within a state. Bill Cooper, the voice of the underground. Former Naval Intelligence Officer William Cooper became a legend in the conspiracy world after releasing his book, Behold a Pale Horse. He claimed the government had made deals with alien species. UFO sightings were used to cover black-budget weapons. JFK was assassinated because he planned to expose the truth. A new world order was rising, with Area 51 at its core. Cooper's broadcasts warned of surveillance, psyops, and secret agendas. He was later killed in a shootout with law enforcement. Some say it was coincidence, others, execution. Either way, his legacy survives, especially among those who believe Area 51 isn't just about aliens, but control. Edward Snowden, silence in the signal. When Edward Snowden leaked NSA documents in 2013, conspiracy theorists held their breath. Would he confirm alien tech? Would he name Area 51? He didn't. In interviews, Snowden said, "If there were aliens, I would have seen the files. I didn't." To some, this was the final nail in the coffin. To others, it proved something deeper. Even whistleblowers don't get to see everything. The power and danger of speaking out. What unites these people is simple. They claim the US government was hiding the biggest secret in history. Some died, some vanished, some were discredited. But all of them cracked open the door just a little wider. They made Area 51 not just a location, but a question. And once that question enters your mind, it never leaves. Episode 7, The Modern Era. TikTok theories, Pentagon disclosures, and the return of the unknown. Area 51 was once a rumor. Now, it's a meme, a movement, and, more importantly, a part of official government vocabulary. This is the story of how the internet, social media, and leaked footage dragged the truth into daylight, and why it still refuses to settle. From conspiracy to culture. Let's start in 2019. A Facebook event titled Storm Area 51, They Can't Stop All of Us, went viral. Millions responded. Hundreds actually showed up. What started as a joke quickly turned into a cultural flashpoint. The Air Force had to issue official warnings. Security was heightened, and the world started paying attention. Again. The event birthed new documentaries, podcasts, and YouTube deep dives. People weren't just watching Area 51 from a distance anymore. They were participating in its myth. Memes became news, and the line between parody and protest vanished. The TikTok effect. On platforms like TikTok and Instagram, a younger generation found new fuel for the fire. Whistleblower says he saw a 3-mile-long alien craft under Nevada desert. Here's how Area 51 is hiding interdimensional portals. This sound frequency supposedly unlocks memory suppression from alien abductions. The content ranges from clever to insane. But it doesn't matter, because engagement means relevance. And today's believers aren't waiting for government documents. They're building their own narratives. With millions of views and shares, conspiracy is now crowdsourced. The Pentagon blinks. In 2020, the U.S. government released 3 declassified videos taken by Navy pilots. The videos showed fast-moving, unidentified flying objects, no visible propulsion, movements defying physics, audio of pilots stunned and swearing. For decades, the government denied everything. Then suddenly, it acknowledged, yes, these are real. We don't know what they are. In 2021, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence published a preliminary report on UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. The conclusion? Out of 144 reported cases, only 1 could be explained. The others? Still unknown. Area 51 wasn't named, but everyone knew what they were thinking. Luis Elizondo and the new disclosure. Luis Elizondo, former head of the Pentagon's secret UFO program, AATIP, became a public figure. He appeared on news networks, podcasts, and even 60 Minutes. He claimed, "The government has known about these phenomena for decades." Many incidents occurred near sensitive military facilities. These objects demonstrate intelligence, intent, and capability. When asked about Area 51, Elizondo dodged but never denied. Congress steps in. For the first time in over 50 years, Congress held public hearings on UFOs. Lawmakers demanded answers. The military gave vague replies. A new office, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, was created to investigate UAPs. And in 2023, whistleblower David Grush testified that the U.S. possesses non-human biologics recovered from crash sites. He mentioned deep black programs, hidden from even congressional oversight. When asked directly, "Has any of this occurred at Area 51?" he replied, "I can't discuss that in an open session." Back to Groom Lake today, satellites still monitor Area 51. Private contractors still fly in on unmarked planes. And new buildings rise in the desert without explanation. Modern aircraft testing continues. Some speculate autonomous drones, hypersonic tech, and directed energy weapons are being refined there. But for all our technology, for all our cameras, sensors, and leaks, we still don't know what happens inside the deepest levels of Groom Lake. And maybe we never will. Because Area 51 isn't just a place. It's a reflection of what we're willing to believe and what we're afraid to know. Episode 8. The Big Picture. What if it's all true? Let's stop pretending for a moment. Let's say everything we've heard, every leak, every whistleblower, every blurry photo, every strange death, every crash saucer, every erased record was true. What would that mean? Truth versus reality. The truth doesn't always set you free. Sometimes it shatters your world. If Area 51 truly houses alien technology, if the US government has been hiding it for over 75 years, if deals were made, accidents covered up, lives taken to protect secrets, then we're living in a version of reality that's been deliberately constructed, one where we're not at the top of the food chain, and maybe we never were. The cost of secrecy. Maintaining a secret that big comes with a price. Billions in black budgets, lives discredited, destroyed, or disappeared. A population conditioned to laugh at the very idea of aliens. Scientists told to forget what they saw. Presidents denied access to files. Journalists told to drop the story. But if the stakes are high enough, maybe it was worth it. If disclosure means panic, collapse of religious frameworks, or revealing tech that rewrites global power, then maybe secrecy wasn't cowardice. Maybe it was control. Signs hidden in plain sight. We've looked at symbols, at strange craft, at sudden jumps in technology, fiber optics, night vision, stealth, microchips, and we've seen patterns. craft that outperform physics, materials that defy analysis, memory loss in those who get too close, consistent testimony from military insiders. Individually, they're coincidences. Together, they tell a story. One of contact, of fear, of decisions made behind locked doors. Humanity's next question. So, what do we do now? Wait for the next whistleblower? Hope for a mass sighting? Pressure Congress until they reveal what they know? Or maybe it's not about them anymore. Maybe it's about us. Because belief is no longer based on faith. It's based on patterns, on reason, on knowing that something real is being hidden. And maybe it always has been. Area 51 will never be just a base again, even if tomorrow it were declassified. Blueprints released, doors opened, the mystery wouldn't die. Why? Because Area 51 isn't just a location anymore. It's an idea, a symbol, a challenge to authority. It represents everything we're not supposed to ask, everything we're not supposed to see. And as long as there are people who ask questions, look up at the stars, and refuse to accept the easy answer, Area 51 will live on, not just in Nevada, but in the minds of every curious human being who dares to whisper, "What if it's all true?"